Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Knife Chats with Tobias. Okay, and this is going to be an interesting segue because I'm moving into doing a Magnificent 7 Rough Riders. Now, I have been a fan of Rough Rider knives for a very long time. Sometimes it's a love-hate relationship with the company. Many of you know that I was not at all a fan of the big R on the bolsters. I thought it was misused. The other thing though is currently the company is Rough Ryder, R-Y-D-E-R. Everyone is very familiar with that. And Rough Ryder pushes the R-Y-D-E-R because that's their new trademark. However, most of the knives that you're going to see in this video are Rough Ryder, R-I-D-E-R, and that's because of when the knives were made. They were made back during the period of time when Rough Ryder had the spelling as such. Because of that, when you see the captions on the knife, you will see it captioned as Rough Ryder, not Rough Ryder. It's not because I don't know enough about Rough Ryder that I should know that it should be spelled R-Y-D-E-R. Like I said, I'm not a shell for the company. This is their current trademark. This was their trademark. This helps to date the knife. It gives you an idea of when the knife was made. Those tang stamps are important. The packaging is important. And because of that, when I listed the knives in the upcoming video, you will see it listed according to their tang stamp at the time of production, not the current Rough Ryder spelling. So just want to keep that in mind while you're watching this video. In any case, with that said, let's move forward and go into the video. Hi, this is going to be my reply to Paddy's Potato Peeler's Magnificent 7. Now, if I recall correctly, what he wanted us to do is show 7 Magnificent Rough Ryder knives. Preferably 7 Magnificent Rough Ryder knives that were not all the same pattern. And I am going to do that, but before I do that, I'm going to show you 7 plus 1 Rough Riders that are all the same pattern that I think are magnificent. And that's going to be the lineup of the Rough Ryder large toothpicks. So first I'm going to go over those very quickly because to me that is the magnificent run. And then after that I will go over 7 other magnificent Rough Riders that are not all the same pattern. Now, first of all, let me explain something. If I were to be doing this 6 months ago, it would have been 6 Rough Ryder knives that I could show you. If I would have done it 2 years ago, it would have been 5 Rough Ryder knives that I could show. Because up until about 2 years ago, there were only 5 Magnificent Rough Ryder large toothpicks. And the last of those was made about 10 years ago. So these 3 were just recently added. And there's another difference between these 3 and these 5. Actually, there's quite a few differences between these 5 and these 3. The most noticeable difference between these 5 is that they will come in a box that reads Rough Ryder, R-I-D-E-R. And these 3 are in a box marked R-Y-D-E-R. So this is after Rough Ryder switched over to the R-Y-D-E-R spelling for Ryder. These 5 were the earlier ones. And while all of them, with the exception of this one, has been shown on the channel at one time or another, some of them have not been reviewed yet. This one was just recently reviewed. And this one was reviewed when it first came out. These other ones, they've been reviewed sort of. Now, this one is the one you see most often with me because, well, not this specific one, but one very similar to this. And this is the RR526, which is the saw cut bone. And this is one of the earlier saw cut bone with the round shield. I usually have one that has the bow tie shield on it. And you notice the shell bolsters that it comes with. Very interesting knife. I really like this one. A lot of people love the saw cut bone series. This is the knife that convinced me to buy other saw cut bone knives. The large toothpick, this is the RR526. The reason I picked up other saw cut bone knives is because of this one. And matter of fact, that's typically what happens when I find a large toothpick that I like. If there's other knives in the series, I tend to look at the other knives in the series. The next one is the Rifleman. This is the RR711, and it's got the Winchester rifle on there. And everyone, well, some people may remember a TV show called The Rifleman, and I don't know if this was based off of that or not, but he carried a, what was it, a Model 92 Winchester. In any case, you got the Winchester on here, and you've got the gun stock bone, the checkered gun stock bone, that I think is what they call it. And this one has a blade etch, the Rifleman. And if you notice, no half stop, no swedges. These are the older ones. This one has the horseshoe shield. I think a lot of these have horseshoe shields on them. Yeah, this one also has the horseshoe shield. And let's move over to the next one. This is the long rifle series. So now we're looking at Fitz Parker for Davy Crockett or Daniel Boone, and has a Kentucky long rifle on there. So that's why it's called the long rifle. Notice it has the triple ring bolster at the top, triple ring powder horn at the bottom. Both of these knives have that, but the other ones, not so much. A lot of them will have the triple ring powder horn now. And this one has the long rifle series. I wish I would have bought more knives in the long rifle series. There are some really interesting patterns in the long rifle series, but I just didn't have the money to pick up what I could pick up. And this is kind of like I think they called it a brown smooth bone. I always looked at it as a chestnut smooth bone because it's a wonderful shade of brown and everything. Okay, next up is the RR917 Stoneworks, and this is the first run of the Stoneworks knives. This one was made a couple times, the RR917. They released it more than once, which is kind of odd. The only other one that I know of that was released more than once was the brown saw cut bone. I've seen it in at least two different shield. So I know that was released at least twice, maybe three times. And the same goes with this knife. I'm pretty certain it was released at least twice. I know it was released twice. It might have been released a third time. And this one has kind of like the crown top bolster and then the various stones that are on here. Now, when these first came out, they said they were reconstituted stones. I don't know if that's the case or not, but that's what it was listed as, is reconstituted stone. And the centerpiece here is abalone, and you have the turquoise, the yellow jasper, and the red jasper there. No blade etch on this either. There was a run that had blade etches. I did not see the large toothpick with a blade etch. They may have done it, but I have yet to see one with the blade etch on it. In any case, this was the first run of the large toothpick in Stoneworks, the RR917. Now that brings us to the last of the Rough Riders with the RIDER, and that is A Stroke of Luck here. And this one's really cool. It's got the Rough Rider horseshoe shield. As far as I know, this is the only series that have it. And then you've got the clovers for the bolsters, the nickel silver bolsters. You got the little clovers going on there, or shamrocks, I guess you could say. And you notice the background there. Brass liners, brass pins, all of that, same with all these. You got the brass liners and brass pins going on. This was one of the first Rough Ryder knives to have a reverse frosted blade edge, and that's the stroke of luck here. Like I said, one of the first to have the reverse frosted blade edge. I've got quite a few of the stroke of luck series. I do not have them all. There was a problem with the canoes in this series. You can see here the green smooth bone, how it's blotted and everything, a little blotchy. It isn't a perfect match or anything. The canoes were really bad. The front was usually a very dark green and the backside was a very light green. So that was the one problem in that series, really. I think there was a total of 8 knives in the series. As far as I know, on all 4 of these knives, and possibly this one too, Brian Wilhoit had quite a bit to do with the layout and everything. I'm pretty certain Brian Wilhoit did the blade etches on all 3 of these knives. This one here with the shamrocks and everything, these were found in the National Knife Museum, and they were all reworked and retooled and everything by Brian Wilhoit for the series. So, and he did the artwork for the boxes and stuff. So these are kind of like the first 5 large toothpicks and some really cool series from Rough Ryder. Let's move over to the next 3. These are the later ones. And this was the first of the new era large toothpicks, and this was in the High Plains series. The High Plains series was, I believe, the brainchild of Andy Armstrong. I know he had a lot to do with the R's on the bolsters, but I believe he also laid this out with the way the bone is done and all this, and it's a pretty cool design. You gotta admit it. The bone on this one looks really good. A lot of people really like the High Plains series. The cool thing about the High Plains series is, with the exception of the R there, it's very clean. There's no shield or anything, which makes the R a whole lot more palatable in my eyes. You've got the triple ring powder horn on it, which is similar to 3 of the earlier knives, and no blade edge whatsoever, which is good. And now you have the swedge, which was very common on all the new era Rough Ryder knives, along with the half stop. And that was a really cool thing for me to see, that they had moved forward with this, put the swedge on it and put the half stop in place, because when I saw that, I thought right away, that's cool, because if they've done that, if they've invested money into doing that, maybe they'll be doing some more toothpicks. And so I was right, they did, and we got 2 more to look at, and these 2 are very recent. I just did a video on this one. This is the tater skin, which is the brown micarta with the black underliners. You can go ahead and check that out. I do like the shield on there. Little repetition with the big R bolster, but at the same time, this is it looks like this may be one of the last toothpicks with the big R. So considering within the whole series run of toothpicks, there's only 2 of them with the big R, I'm okay with that. And again, no blade edge, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, this one is still in the 440A stainless steel. So right up until now, everything has been 440A in all of these 7 knives. And now we have the latest addition to the large toothpicks, which is, I'm going to call it a new generation Stoneworks large toothpick. Now, I'm right in the middle of a full treatment on several new Stoneworks knives, so I'm not going to go into great detail on this one, but this one is very similar to the earlier one, but as you can see right away, there is a slight difference. Instead of the yellow jasper here, what you have are a larger red turquoise. You still have the abalone in the middle. Obviously that looks different, but the big difference is the The yellow jasper has been swapped out with some white pearl, so the stones are slightly different. And also you've got the pinch bolster at the top instead of the crown bolster. I'll be talking more about this one later though. And obviously other changes that you see here. New tang stamp. And the biggie, which you'll be seeing, I think, in a lot of Rough Ryder knives in the near future, 440B instead of 440A stainless steel. But there's my 8 magnificent large toothpicks by Rough Ryder. Now let's move on to 7 other magnificent Rough Ryders. Okay, we saw the 7+1 Magnificent Rough Ryder Toothpicks. We've got a pile here of 7 more Rough Ryders that I think are magnificent. What I was trying to do with these is try and grab ones that were not within a series. Now you will see one of them is in a series, but it's a magnificent series, and what I'll probably end up doing is a later video of 7 magnificent Rough Riders series, and I'll show one knife from each of the series that I think are really great Rough Rider series. So now what I've tried to do here is grab some underrepresented patterns that Rough Ryder does, and in some cases it's one of a kind. They've only made one of them, and I wish they would do a few more that were similar to it at least. In any case, with that said, let's get started. And I'm going to jump right away with the dog bone jack. This is one of my favorite Rough Ryder knives, and it is one that they have made at least in 2 different ways. They have it in smooth tobacco bone, and in the saw cut jig bone with the dog bone shield going on there, and it's got the little whistle on there, and got the dog bone jack blade etch going on. It's basically an equal end penknife that has been shaped into the shape of a bone, and I think they could do a couple more things with this. I mean, they could make a dog bone whittler, they could make a dog bone stockman, I don't know. You know, they could use this frame for other things than just the dog bone, but I don't know, it's just such a cool knife. But at the same time, one of the cool things about it is this is it. You know, you've got the dog bone jack. It's a one of a kind of standalone. Yeah, it does come in tobacco smooth bone, or it comes in this. At one time it had an acorn shield, and it was offered in the Rough Ryder, in the Outdoorsman line, but this is just one magnificent knife. I hope it doesn't leave the Rough Ryder lineup. I hope they continue to make this knife just because it's so cool. But then again, if they stop making it, I guess this is one that would definitely be going up in value. So the dog bone jack is definitely one of the Rough Ryder knives that I consider magnificent, and if you can get a hold of one, I would definitely do it. And well, how many times have I came on this channel and talked about this knife? I love this knife, the 078 lockback. That kind of looks like the Moki design lockback knives. This is just a fabulous knife. Everything about this knife I really like. I just love the shape of that blade. I wish this is one of those knives that they would I would love to see this in the Stoneworks line for right now. You know, they're doing new Stoneworks knives. I'd love to see this in Stoneworks. I'd love to see it in tortoise shell. There's so many things I'd love to see this knife in, other than just the curly maple. But this is just really a magnificent Rough Ryder knife that definitely should be around still, but isn't. You can occasionally find it on the secondary market, and depending on who's selling it on the secondary market, you can get it for as low as 20 bucks, sometimes even less if the person is doing it with you know, an open bid. But they can also be kind of pricey. But that is definitely one of my favorite, and a Rough Ryder that I consider magnificent. All right, I'm going to scoot these out of the way to make a little room here. I'll get back to them real soon. This is their original camp knife or scout knife, and this is the way they should continue to be making their scout knife. This puts the Camp King knife that they're putting out now to shame. This is the first ones they made, and these are just wonderful. You've got the old style can opener, which works really good as a box cutter. You could use it as a can opener if you want to, but what I use it for mostly is a box cutter, and it's par excellence as that, and I don't really need the can opener nearly as much. You've got the long screwdriver and the cap lifter, a cap lifter that actually works, unlike the one on the Cap King that doesn't work. You got really nice looking bone, got a nice long punch, and obviously you've got the main spear blade. This one's at 3 3/4 inches. It's a lot slimmer than the Camp King version, their new version of camp knives. You got the brass liners instead of stainless steel liners. You got the brass pins, the nickel silver bolsters. This is just a fabulous knife, and it's patterned after an old case scout knife, and well, it's just so much better than the one they have now. This one was magnificent. I saw this knife the first time I got it, and I just loved it from then on, and I kept saying, Smoky Mountain Knife Works, you got to make more Rough Ryder scout knives, you got to make more Rough Ryder scout knives. And when they finally got around to doing it, they came out with the Camp King, and instead of doing it like this with a safety can opener, they beefed it all up, made it all fat and everything else, and it just is not the same knife. It's not nearly as good. These are magnificent. The other ones are but this is a magnificent scout knife by them, and it was reasonably priced when they came out. I wish they would come back to doing these again. Who cares about the half stop when you got a really good knife like that one? Okay, let me pull this one out of the way too. I'm going to move you over here. I think I've talked to those three. All right, next up is the bird and trout knife, the small game hunter. This is the one with the stag handle and the leather sheath. They make several of these in different handle materials. The only one that I know of that comes with the leather sheath, though, is the one that has the genuine stag handle. It's not that much more expensive than the other ones, so if you can get it, I would grab it. Now, the newer one doesn't have as good of a leather sheath as the older ones do. This is a 090. That's the original pattern number, so it's been around for quite some time. They recently re-released it, so they're readily available, but the sheath is not going to be quite as good. But in any case, the knife itself is wonderful. And the new ones, the stag is just about the same. So the quality of the stag is pretty good, and the newer ones just like the old ones. And what this is just a little bird and trout knife. You'll also hear them called fin and feather and beak and gill, all sorts of different names that are just play on words with different parts of the anatomy of a bird or a fish. And they're just a wonderful little knife, and they're very functional. If nothing else, there could be a kitchen paring knife. See, the blade length is only 3 1/4 inches, and overall length of it is really just 6 1/2 inches. So it's not a big knife, and I think that's one of the reasons it's popular among knife collectors, is because it's such a small knife. Doesn't take up that much room. What's cool about this for me is that because of the size, it goes well with collections of folders as well. So if you're a traditional collector, and say you're collecting stag, well, here's a nice little fixed blade stag that can go with all your slip joints and stag. If you're a big collector of yellow Delrin, this knife also comes in yellow Delrin and things of that nature. Now, other companies also make it, but I tell you what, I think this one is just as good as the one that you get from Baron Son, if not better, because, well, it just looks cleaner and same steel. So it's really good knife. Any case, really a magnificent little bird and trout knife. Okay, time for another fixed blade. I could have easily done 7 Magnificent Rough Ryder fixed blades, but Skip is doing that. So what I did is I grabbed a couple of the smaller ones that I knew he would not be interested in. So I'm not sure if his video is going to air before mine, but in any case, look around for Skip's 7 Magnificent Rough Ryders also. That'll be talking about bigger knives. I got a bunch of small ones here. And this is one of my favorite Rough Ryders, regardless of size, because it's such a terrific knife. And it's their Ulu Skinner. I think I did a video on this a long time ago. It definitely deserves a new video. It's the RR776. You got the Rough Ryder Tang stamp there. Really nice. You got zebra wood handles on here. And if you notice, they're held on by little torque screws, so you can remove those. So if you need to throw this into the what is it called, the dishwasher, you could actually take the handles off and throw this in a dishwasher and clean it all up nice and clean. And what I really like about this knife is it is just terrific for food prep, and that's what I've used it for quite often, because it is just a great little chopper. You get there and just slice up your vegetables, slice up meat, slice up whatever you want with this thing. It's a really good cutter, and it's also good for cutting up bait or anything else. Don't know if the hole in the blade is helpful or not, but your hand can go in there. But typically when you're slicing, it's like so. Then the hole doesn't really matter, but I guess if you're scraping, you can actually get your finger in that spot. So if you're scraping off flesh or something, or scraping scales off, or scraping fur off, or feathers off, you can probably do it that way pretty well. Yeah. Anyway, scraping burlap. I don't know, it's just a terrific knife. And comes with a nice nylon sheath. It does have the ability to belt carry, but I've never carried this on a belt. I just thrown it in a pocket as is. One problem with it is right here, it does come with a sharpening stone, but getting the sharpening stone out is near impossible if the knife is in the sheath. But I guess if the knife is in the sheath, you're not really going to need the sharpening stone. So you got to take out the knife to get the stone out of the sheath. Maybe that's actually a good thing, because you don't have to worry about your stone accidentally falling out of the sheath while you're carrying it or anything. There is a plastic liner inside there, so you don't cut the nylon. I don't know. And you see it's riveted and everything else. It's just a good knife. I really like this knife. Like I said, it is definitely one of my favorite Rough Ryders. It's a magnificent little Skinner. Really, it's a magnificent little chopper for the kitchen, or for the for the campsite, something for cutting up your vegetables and everything. Any case, enough on the little Ulu Skinner. Let's move on to another knife. So this next one's a somewhat unique cotton sampler from Rough Ryder. Now, Rough Ryder has started making a lot more cotton samplers than they used to, but this one is really different than all the other ones, and one of the main reasons is right there, the double R shield on this Rough Ryder. This is the only Rough Ryder knife that has that double R shield, this particular cotton sampler. It also has the 448 stainless steel titanium coated blade. There you go. And it is the what is the number on there? The Rough Ryder 1728. So it was definitely a modern era one. You saw it has the half stop, it's got the swedge, it's got the big R, but this is one of the newer ones. It was one of the first cotton samplers they did. I think they did one cotton sampler before they did this one. This is supposed to be black smooth bone. The colors are never quite completely black on these, but it does look pretty good. And it's just it's the magnificent part of it is that it is one of the patterns that they don't make a lot of. I think they've made maybe 8 or 9 cotton samplers now. So it has become a lot more popular because people really like it. But they've yet to turn out another one with the double R shield. So that's the cool thing about this knife, and that's what makes it magnificent and also somewhat rare among the Rough Ryder knives. I do not know if this is still in production or not. Okay, I'm gonna try and make this look a little prettier. Get that out, get you out. We got both of you showing now. Put you back there, we can see you. How's that? That's better. One more knife to go. Okay, the 7th knife I'm going to show, once again another fixed blade. Now these were in no particular order. It's not like this is the best or the worst or anything like that. I kind of rank all of these the same. They're just 7 magnificent Rough Ryder knives. I've got plenty of Rough Ryders that I consider magnificent. This one has that stylish sheath that Rough Ryder started doing a lot of, where they have the nylon with a piece of leather going on there. I think this might actually be real leather. I'm not sure. You got the Rough Ryder stamped into there, and you've got the extra little rivet into the snap portion so you can open it up easier. So a really well made sheath, covers the entire knife so the whole knife is protected. And this is a little fixed blade that is the only fixed blade that was in the Outdoorsman series. It's just another little bird and trout knife, or a little small hunter. See the acorn shield there. This is what is it? RR 1278, and just a wonderful little fixed blade. Comes in at right at 7 inches long with a well, what is it? A little over 3 inches long for the blade. Cutting edge of the blade is right at 3 inches. Like I said, about 7 inches long, maybe 6 3/4 or so. Wonderful mirror polish going on with it. It's a hollow ground blade. You can see, yes, there are some scratches on there because I have actually used this knife quite a few times. I really like it. I wish I would have been able to pick up 2 of these when they came out. If I would have picked up 2 of them, I would be using this thing all the time because it is such a wonderful little knife. Great little slicer, great for cutting up meat, great for cutting up fruits, vegetables. You know, definitely a great apple peeler and everything else. So just a good little chore knife for either the kitchen or the campsite. Definitely could throw it in the tackle box and use it for cutting up bait and stuff like that. And it's definitely a wonderful looking knife. You got the tobacco smooth bone handle held on with 4 brass pins on each side. Build quality is just excellent on this thing. Really nice and fits the hand really well. Now, one of the complaints that people have had on it is the fact that it does not have a guard, so your hand could slip up on the blade, but it does come with a lanyard tube. And well, if you know what to do with a lanyard and you actually make one that's functional instead of just looks nice, having a lack of a guard on this knife means nothing. Because as you see, I've got a typical functional lanyard that I like to make, and you notice I've got the extra hole there. So all I do is slip my middle finger through this hole here, and now there's no way for my hand to slip up on the blade because the lanyard is holding my hand back. So I can try all I want and my hand's not going anywhere. It won't slip up on the blade, and I'm still free to cut, do whatever I need to do, you know, because it's just a string holding me there. But I don't know, just a wonderful knife. Was it a flaw? I don't think so. And you notice the little hole there, or that cutout, that's so that when you're cutting and everything and you lift your hand up like this, the blood any juices or anything are just going to hit this little spot here and then just drop right off instead of dripping all the way down onto your hand and everything. So it's a really nice little guard that way. And, you know, definitely there's no jimping, but you don't need it. Again, it's a light duty knife, but it's a wonderful, pretty knife too, and just really magnificent. So there you have it. There's my 7 Magnificent Rough Ryder knives. The dog bone jack, my 078 lockback, the smooth black bone titanium cotton sampler with the double R shield, the best scout knife Rough Ryder ever made, and really one of the best scout knives out there even today. The small stag handled bird and trout knife, the zebra wood handled ulu skinner, and the outdoorsman skinner. So there you go. There's my 7 Magnificent Rough Ryders. Let me take just a second to thank you once again for dropping by and spending a few minutes here at Knife Chats with the Pies. I really do appreciate it, and I do appreciate any comments that you leave. So please remember to give me that thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode is up and running. Thanks again for dropping by. Really do appreciate your time here.